Hey guys, I got Charlie here with me. I'm Jason, and we work here at Fender Garage, and we're talking a little bit about fueling today. So we sell two kits on our website. One is a return style kit, and one is a returnless style kit. And so everyone always wants to know what's the difference, right? Yeah. And why would you be making two kits? Well, there's a lot of variations, and some people are more comfortable with a return style kit because it's what everybody's been doing. Return style kit is basically some -6 AN hose. You'll get like 25 feet in the kit. You're going to run your fuel pump right into a regulator. You'll get this that comes in the kit that tells you what you're going to be at. Typical swaps that you're doing with fuel injection, they're going to be right around 55 to 58 PSI. And then from there, you're going to return it back to the tank anything over 58 PSI. So most of these fuel pumps are pushing out over 100 PSI, and you're going to need to return all the extra fuel that's got to go back to the tank. It's got to go somewhere, can't go to the motor, so it's got to go back. So you return it back. So this is one version. As you can see, there's a lot of fittings here on the table. Charlie, tell me your perspective and your thoughts on this kit.
This is a perfectly fine kit. It's more traditional, like Jason said, what people are used to, and they're not scared of it. But like we talked off camera, if your fuel filter plugs, if you come out of adjustment for your regulator, you're going to either increase fuel, run lean, run fat. So it's not really a bulletproof system like people think. A lot of people like them if they're going to run a turbo system or a supercharger system. Basically what they're doing is damming up the fuel because they're going to put this after your fuel rail to hold all the fuel back inside, so that way you always have a full rail of fuel when you get boost. But that's all good and it's fine and it works great. Doesn't mean it's the best system in the world.
Yeah. So what we've done here at Fender Garage, we've kind of changed the mindset here and gone a little bit different route. And so we're doing a returnless. Now returnless is something you're going to see in all the new cars today. It's one line from the fuel pump all the way up to the fuel rail. That's it, it's done. But it is monitored with something with a pulse width modulated monitoring system. So all your Chevys and Fords, Camaros, your Mustangs, they're all running the same system. So basically in a nutshell, you're going to have a sensor like this that's going to be in the fuel rail, and it's going to have a wiring harness, and then it's going to go to an ECU that comes in this box. This box right here has all the wiring and everything you need for fuel management, okay? So it's more wiring, a little bit more work to put this together on the wiring side. It's a lot less work when it comes to plumbing it because it's one line. So this sensor is going to monitor your pressure. You're going to set it one time at 58 PSI and then you're done. This will always monitor it. So one of the big differences is that you're going to run your fuel pump at 100% duty cycle here, okay? And then over here, you're going to run like an OEM factory pump, like a Mustang GT or a ZL1 Camaro pump. You're going to run it probably at like 60% duty cycle. So if you get low on fuel, you're not going to be as hot on your fuel pump, and so you're less likely to burn it up. Now you're less likely to burn up an OEM fuel pump to begin with than you are an aftermarket pump, just due to the fact that the R&D and the technology and everything that's been put into it is just more robust, okay? And so I've never actually burned up a fuel pump, and I run out of gas quite frequently because I just push it all the way to the last mile because I don't want to go get gas. Charlie's gotten in my truck many a times and he's like texting me, "Dang you left me with 3 miles?" Or
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, 3 miles. And so I'll wake up in the morning, there'll be 0 miles. I'm like, oof, I should have got gas last night. And so I make it. But I've never burned up a pump, luckily. I'm going to do it today probably now. I'm going to run out of gas. So
that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. But anyway, so the reality is that they're more robust of a pump. They're a little bit better. And because you're not running them at 100% duty cycle, they're actually going to be ready to go and just survive low fuel. Now, that's controlled by volts. So it's called a pulse width modulated because it's modulating the voltage pulse that is sending to the actual fuel pump. And so it might be running closer to like 7 volts, right? To get the fuel pressure of 58 PSI. But it's gonna monitor that and control that pulse there so it keeps the pump running at 58 PSI. Now in the event you might have a fuel filter getting a little bit plugged up because you're too lazy to change it, it's going to recognize that it's only got a certain amount of fuel pressure, it needs more. It's gonna monitor that and keep track of it, and then it will continue to push more volts to it to increase it. Now, this works with supercharged system as well, because it turns out the GT500 is supercharged, and it runs the same thing. Now, more people are more familiar with this. It's simpler, but this is the same system that's in a GT500. So we run a GT500 pump. You can run a CTSV supercharged Cadillac pump. You can also run that. But on our Fords, we run a Ford pump. And on the Chevys, we're now running Chevy pumps. And so very robust, it works really well, it supplies fuel. But we're gonna go over to a chassis though, and rather than just kind of talk about it here, we're gonna go to a chassis and explain a little bit more what we're talking about on the pulse width modulated system. All right, so we're here with the chassis. This is a Porterbuilt chassis that we assemble here at Fender Garage and sell exclusively through us for guys that are building Ford trucks. And we're also starting to do that with Chevy trucks too. So anyway, so here's the fuel tank which we use. And right here essentially is a Mustang GT fuel pump. So you've got the connection here. In the kit that we sell you, you're gonna get a pigtail that plugs in here. And you're actually gonna go one line. Now you can do a soft line, and you can run a soft line all the way up, all the way to the front, because we're fancy pants people here, right?
Yeah.
We do things a little bit different. And so we'll actually put a bulkhead in here, and we'll hard line it here, and then we'll soft line it all the way up through the frame. We can only send you the soft line because I can't guarantee that you're gonna bend it and flare it. It's actually harder. We mess up all the time, so.
We do, because all of ours is stainless line. So one thing, going back to the return style system, if you decide you want to do that and you're purchasing that from us and a tank, we need to know so that way we can get you a tank that allows it to be return style.
Correct, yeah. So we actually sell a tank that is a return style tank. So it's an air motive tank, it's got air motive pumps, it's got all the parts in it for an actual return. So it's a different tank. You wouldn't use this tank set up here for a Returnless. Now, one of the cool things, Charlie, that you don't know, because you're not familiar with it, because this is a new product as far as the tank goes. So where is the fuel sending unit?
So actually, I do know a little bit because I was asked for help to figure out how to fix this new sending unit.
Because typically, you would see a sending unit parked right there to tell you how much fuel is in your tank. But it's missing, right? So where is it?
Well, it's in the pump now, right?
Yeah, it's in the pump now. So it's actually really cool. We're using the sending unit in the fuel pump itself that comes from the actual Ford Mustang. So that is actually right here. When you plug in your wiring harness, it's actually got the sending unit built into the wiring harness and goes all the way up.
I honestly did not know that. We have to change a couple little things on the pump before we set them in here, and that's was what I was asked to help with, is getting some different lines so we can route something a little different in there.
But the wiring harness in the actual kit that you get, the pulse width modulated kit, it actually has a wire in it,
that's
in
cool.
the pigtail for the sending unit.
One less thing.
One less thing to do, right? And not to mention, you actually don't have to spend an extra $50 for a sending unit.
And calibrate it, cut it all down, make it work right.
Right, and we always know what ohms these are.
Yeah.
We get these tanks, and sometimes you go to set your gauges, you're like, I wonder what sending unit was put in this one. Was it 0 to 90? Was it
35 to
33 to 244?
Yeah.
Was it 10 to 75? Like sometimes people forget what was put in it, and then or it wasn't installed correctly. The tank's got to get dropped, recalibrated, whatever it is. So very cool. So essentially, this is what we're talking about. A Returnless is one line all the way to the fuel rail done. If we were coming back with a return style, we would also be dumping it right back, probably another line coming here, spitting it all here. Now on our fuel tank, this is a check valve rollover vent. And if you take a look at this right here, this height here, and this height here, this is lower. So if you fill your gas up all the way up here, and you just have a hose dripping down here, you're gonna spill gas out on the ground.
Yeah.
It just happens. A lot of guys will, they'll have like a big neck coming up to something, they'll fill it all the way up to the neck.
Complain about their garage smelling like gas.
Garage smells like gas, or hey, I just got gas at the gas station and I got gas all over the ground. I'm like, did you fill it all the way up in the neck? He goes, yeah. I go, well,
drive it.
That's too bad. Drive it. Get
Couple
rid of
good
it.
burnouts, that gas will be gone.
So the other thing you can do is you can run a vent, and you can kind of run this up and make sure it's always higher than this. Then it'll actually never overflow. So you only have to do that once or twice before you realize, don't do that again. So I've been to the gas station. I filled it up in like a gallon of fuel.
Yeah.
And at this day and age,
yeah, you don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
$5.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So anyway, essentially, I hope that helps explain return and returnless. They're both systems that work. I'm not saying that the return style is bad. We prefer the returnless. We think that when we're putting modern engines in old pickup trucks, that we should just obey the laws of what they're doing in new cars and stick with modern fueling as well. The first one I ever did that was a pulse width modulated was an LT1 about 6 years ago when GM came out with, maybe 5 years ago, the LT, new LT motor with an 8-speed automatic, and then they sent me this module. I don't even know how we made it work. Like, it was like,
Automagically.
oh man, it was, I was like, what? Pulse what? I'm on the phone, like with the engineers and shit, I go, can you explain this again to me? Like, it's not clear. But we got a hold of some people and talked about fueling, and over the years, we've learned a lot about proper fueling and worked with some smart guys out there that know fueling way better than we do. And so they've taught us the right way to do it. And so hopefully we can share that information with you and teach you guys the right way to do it. Like I said, we love a returnless because it's
way less work.
Way less work for us. A little more for the wiring guy, but hey, it's what he likes to do is wire. So we just give him more of it. And then it's a little cleaner, simpler all the way up. And so yeah, hopefully that helps you. In your swaps, if you're doing a Coyote swap or an Ella swap, it's all the same thing. You can do that system either way, and you can do it supercharged or turboed. But again, it just comes down to just proper fuel management, making sure you're doing the one that works the best for you. If you got just a little tiny motor and you got a little small 302 or 350 or something like that in there, you still can actually put a pump in a tank and run it. You don't have to run a fuel rail fuel pump. If you want to get rid of the mechanical one on the motor, you actually can still do the same thing, but you're just going to regulate it down. You actually can
down to 8 PSI.
You can cut this down to 8 PSI and run it, and you never have to listen to the fuel pump. One thing I hate about those fuel pumps,
yeah, the buzz.
The buzz, and they will eventually burn up eventually, so that's guaranteed.
One other thing on the system, if you're running a supercharger or turbo, we talked about it just a little bit and briefly, but there are 2 different kits.
That's right.
So if you are ordering that and you're going to have turbos or supercharger, you need to let us know that too, so we can get you the right one that will actually give you more voltage to the pump.
Right. A couple different kits, yeah. You got to have the right one. We can actually increase, I think they can make that kit run with it'll increase voltage and add on to where it'll handle almost 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
So it can handle quite a bit. The GT500 pump that we use in the Fords will actually handle 850 horsepower. We just run in that standard pump. So it's a pretty cool system. So happy hot rodding. Hope you guys have a good weekend, weekday, whatever it is you're doing out there. And like and subscribe, follow our channel. And we're going to offer more tips and tricks for you doing your own swap. Thanks.